Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2. Today I want to quickly go over a lot of the bugs that currently exist with Spiritborn that are going to drastically increase your damage by literally over 10,000x, and that is actually kind of a conservative number. But that is if you properly take advantage of these things. There's probably many more bugs to come that we don't actually yet know about, but I'm already able to hit for literally 100 trillion damage. By the way, video will be posted on that tomorrow, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. But we're already doing enough damage as it is. We don't really need any more bugs. I just want to quickly explain all of the bugs that exist so you guys know how to take advantage of it, which you can do on literally any build, by the way. It doesn't matter what build you are playing. Regardless what you're using, even if you just hit max level, you want to be using a lot of these bugs because every Spiritborn build pretty much is, whether you want to or not, and it is just such a crazy damage increase. I don't think Blizzard is going to patch a lot of these unintended interactions for quite some time, so I think you're safe to use it for quite a while. Let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments, but if they do patch stuff, I'll just make an updated video. Alright, let's get into some of it. First one is the Jaguar Spirit Hull. Oh my god, don't attack him, dude. No. My Rahir guy he just bullies the training dummies. Okay. Anyways, Jaguar main Spirit Hull. If you just read this on the face of it, it actually sounds pretty underwhelming. Every 15th time you deal damage, you'll deal an extra strike that is 15% of the damage that you did in the last half second. So, on the face of it, not very much a huge damage increase. I actually said that they should buff this prior to the game coming out. Definitely don't buff it anymore, because what's happening right now, at least my interpretation of what's happening, is that effectively this is happening, but it's actually, before it does the additional strike, it is calculating all of the multipliers that you have on your character again, so you get all the damage. This damage should scale off the damage that the enemy takes, which it does, but then before it actually applies that damage, it takes all of your other multipliers into account, which you have a lot of, and then it double dips with them. There are certain things that this seems to double dip with, and certain things that it doesn't seem to. We will need to test all of this and probably have an extensive sheet of which things do and which things don't, but the most predominant thing that we do know that double dips with it is Viscous Shield, which is kind of a separate bug in and of itself. But the implication of this double dipping is that this is what does the majority of your damage. When you're seeing me hit for 100 billion, it is the Jaguar Spirit Hull. This is why you might see the version of the build that people are playing with Quill Volley, people swapping off of things like Ebawaka, because the skill portion of this, the damage increase giving you increased damage to your skills, is going to affect the Quill Volley damage, but that's not going to double dip with the Jaguar Spirit Hull, where certain things will, such as getting more maximum HP to scale your Viscous Shield. Again, this needs more testing, but anecdotally what I've figured out, or at least what I have seen, is that things that apply skill damage aren't going to work for the Jaguar Spirit Hull because it doesn't count as a skill, whereas getting just generic damage will apply to it. So something like Headhunter, just 10% increased damage to elites does seem to benefit it, whereas Talon is damage with Eagle skills, which is not going to benefit it. You don't really have to change your gear significantly to play around the fact that this is double dipping, but it is something just worth noting, and when you actually play, you'll recognize, it seems like my damage numbers are really high when it's these big white crits rather than the actual attacks of your character, which is the little eagle hits that you'll see from Quill Volley or whatever. But like I said, the single biggest way to scale your Jaguar and just your damage in general is with a Viscous Shield. This is bugged in one massive way, where this is supposed to give you increased damage for each % of maximum life that you have as barrier. So let's say that I had 100% of my life as a barrier. I just had a 100% barrier. This would just give me a 33% damage increase, nothing crazy. The way that this actually works is that it says maximum life, but it actually counts as whatever % you have as your base life as a barrier. Our base life is a very low number. I don't remember or know exactly how low, but it is a very low number. Each point of life that we get is basically going to increase our damage as a result of it scaling off of our base life, because if we get HP that is exceeding our base life, we are continuing to get more barrier for it, because if we just have barrier, it's going to give us barrier that is relative to our max HP. Right now I have 100% barrier, so it's exactly what my HP is. Because my HP is higher than my base HP, I'm continuing to get damage out of Viscous Shield. The math is about for every 12 points of HP, you get 1% damage, and that gets a little insane when you factor in the fact that I'm at 21,000 HP right now, and when I have elixirs and everything, I get up to 26,000 HP, and with a perfect build, you could probably get 28,000 HP. So this is somewhere to the effect of a 21,000% multiplier. If you want to just test this for yourself, you can try out your build if you happen to be hitting for quite some big numbers. Put this on, see what you hit for, and then take it off and see what you hit for, and you'll see that this is giving you the majority of your damage for almost any build. So this means that any Spiritborn build that does not have a barrier and is not scaling their max HP is basically going to be behind every other build. And you want to make your barrier be 100% of your HP because that's what's scaling the damage, and then as you get more HP, it's just going more and more and more above the base HP, so you just get more damage per HP. So how can you actually get a 100% barrier? There are there's multiple ways to do this actually. One of the best ways is that you just get the Quay rune, which is going to invoke the Druid's Earthen Bulwark thing, which is going to give you a barrier. That is a 45% barrier by default, and then you want to scale barrier generation in order to make that a 100% barrier. So you can get barrier generation on, you can temper it on your gear, so 18% per temper, and you can also get amethyst, so it's 12% per gem there, and then you can also get some barrier generation in the viscous tree here. You can get 9% right there, plus another 6%. Oh, that's where I was missing it. I'm missing some dexterity. So you can get another 12% there, and then another 9% up here. And then with the Quay rune, because it is a 45% barrier, you need 122.3% barrier generation for that to give you a 100% barrier. So I'm at 124, but I'll just quickly show you. So if we have a 0.45% barrier, and then we multiply that by a 122.3% increase, so 2.22.3, you can see that is a 100% barrier. If you don't have that much barrier generation, or you don't have the Quay rune, what are some other ways that you can get barrier? Well, if you're playing a Crushing Hand build, for example, you'll get 30% barrier by default. If you pair that with the Quay rune, that would be 75% barrier, so you barely need any barrier generation on your character at all to reach a 100% barrier. You can also get barrier from a Concussive Stomp. This will also give you up to a 30% barrier as well. There's also an aspect called Forest Power, which gives you a 25% barrier too. And if you have multiple sources of barrier, it becomes extremely easy to reach 100%. But for most builds, you're going to just use the Quay rune. But for example, if you're playing Crushing Hand or something, if you use Quay rune and Crushing Hand barrier, getting to 100% takes like almost no barrier generation at all. And you can very easily do the math by just calculating how much of your barrier you have and then multiplying it by your barrier generation, and then just seeing if that gets up to 100%. You can see how much of your barrier is actually, if you have a 100% barrier or not, by just attacking, and then you can see right here down there, my barrier is exactly equal to my maximum life, so that's what you want. Once you have your barrier equaling your maximum life, you just want to scale your life like as much as humanly possible, which you can do very easily with the overpowered version of the Quill Volley build, because Banished Lord's Talisman just has a crap ton of HP on it. You can get GA max life on a ton of your pieces of gear, which, because this scales the Jaguar Spirit Hull, this means that max HP might actually be better than getting things like Quill Volley ranks on your gear, because it scales your damage twice. It scales your initial hit, and then it also scales the Jaguar Hull a second time via the double dipping. So getting GA max HP on your gear is extremely powerful. And then there's also a ton of HP within the Paragon board. And when I'm making builds now, I'm prioritizing like the pathing that I'm doing for the Paragon board. I'm having people go into the HP boards very early on and grabbing it quick, because it is a ton of damage via your Viscous Shield. And when you're really low level, the first thing that you can do for your character is grab Viscous Shield, grab some barrier, and then start grabbing all these really nice max HP nodes that are within the Paragon board. Next little bug is actually a two-parter, which a lot of these kind of are, and it's funny because you can mix all of them into one build and then just hit for 100 trillion, and that's what we're doing. So the next bug is Redirected Force. This gives you increased crit damage multiplier equal to your block chance. If you block, you'll get 140% of your block will then count as crit damage. This ideally, it's scaled based on this to just scale based on you having 100% block chance, and then that would just give you 140% crit damage multiplier, and that would be decently balanced. However, the way that this is actually working is it continues to give you increased crit damage past 100% block chance. So you can see right now my crit damage is 6,180%. I'm already at 100% block. If I press Armor Tide, which will give me 100% more block, you'll see that my crit damage goes up. It didn't go up by that much because I already have a disgusting amount of block, and that is because I have 39 resolve stacks. The reason that I have so many resolve stacks, and this is the second bug, is that you get this aspect interdiction where you get 15% block chance per resolve stack. By the way, getting a max interdiction is like 40 billion gold, and looting one is like a 1 in a million. I don't know what's going on there. Feel free to donate one to me if you would like to, but basically you keep getting block chance per stack of resolve that you have, and the bug is that you can temper on maximum resolve stacks onto your gear, and the increments at which these are being increased via masterworking is way higher than they should be. It should go up by 25%, but it goes up by about 50% in some cases. So from +9 to then the last masterwork, it goes up to +13. That is way more than a 25% increase. That's about 50%. So it starts out at +2 resolve stacks, and then if you land the first masterwork, it goes up to +4. And then if you were to fully masterwork that would go to 6, or just like fully masterwork the piece. But if the masterwork crits lands on it again, then you'll get 9. And if you happen to get the 0.8% chance of it happening, you'll end up getting 13 resolve stacks, which via having interdiction on, if you had a max aspect rather, 15 times 13 would be giving you 195% block. 195% block times 1.4 is 273% crit damage, and that is from one singular piece of gear. In theory, you could get 13 resolve stacks on chest, helmet, pants, and even an amulet if you weren't playing Banished Lord's Talisman. That is an insane amount of extra damage. It doesn't seem like the crit damage from Redirected Force is double dipping with Jaguar Spirit Hull, but the Jaguar Spirit Hull damage is still based on how much initial damage you do, and getting upwards of 1000% crit damage just from having so much resolve stacks, and you have 45% block on your weapon, you have 100% block from Armored Hide being up, and you have another 10% block in the skill tree. You get up to like, 1000% block or whatever, or not 1000, like 700%, 800% block off the top of my head, and then you just do insane damage with the Redirected Force, and this can be applied to any build. Also, if you're not using like Kapeleke or Banished Lord's Talisman, you could slam this aspect on the two-hander and get even more value out of it. Last bug that I want to mention is actually with Kapeleke, and this is just that it's pretty simple. If you guys have been playing and you pop a Channeling Shrine and you happen to be using Kapeleke build, you'll notice that your damage will just skyrocket with the Channeling Shrine, and that's because it gives you 100% resource cost reduction. It turns out that resource cost reduction is kind of bugged with Kapeleke. This is a bit more conjecture. I don't know the math on this. I don't know how it works. All I know is I put resource cost reduction on my gloves and on my ring, and my damage go burr. If you want to actually take advantage of this, what I'd recommend doing is just using resource cost reduction in place of dexterity on simply just these two pieces, being your gloves and your ring. And then instead of resource generation temper on your ring, you can go with resource cost reduction. But if you do that, you need 560 intelligence in order to swap out the resource generation on your ring. Otherwise, you will not get a full refund every time that you attack with your Ring of the Midnight Sun. I'll demonstrate that right now. So with your Ring of the Midnight Sun, you need to have a 50% roll, and you need to have 560 intelligence. Okay, I got DC'd. I just got DC'd for like 20 minutes. I don't remember what I was on about, but resource cost reduction, from what I can tell, seems to be almost as a multiplicative damage increase, at least for this build when you are using Kapeleke, and that is just pretty good. Another thing I've heard, I can't explain it, I don't know what's going on. I just have heard that Banished Lords is bugged in some way and exceeding the cap that it is supposed to withhold. I have no idea what that means. Someone smarter than me, let me know down in the comments if you happen to know. There's a ton of little small bugs with this character, and probably way more to come that I don't yet know of, but those are all of the ones that I personally know of that are going to drastically increase your damage, and all the ones that you need to take advantage of in order to hit for upwards of 100 trillion with a nearly perfect build. But again, it'll work with any build pretty much, and if you're just getting into Spiritborn, you want to prioritize probably the viscous shield thing, like get HP, get your barrier up, and then after that, focus on scaling your redirected. But viscous shield is by far the most broken thing in the game. Anyways, that is pretty much it. Full build video will be out tomorrow. Hopefully you found it helpful. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you know of any other bugs down in the comments, any big brains, and I'll make an updated video if there's anything worth mentioning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.